Well, hello everybody and welcome back for another Sunday look around the yard and gardens in, well, atypically windy Manitoba. But it's still kind of a nice day. Didn't get anywhere near as much stuff done in the yard and gardens as I was hoping, but things are still progressing out here in, well, typical bear fashion. So I figured I'd start today by showing you what's going on outside, and then we'll move down into the dungeon and take a look at what's still growing on there. Hopefully most of that can come out soon. Another couple of weeks to go, but it's supposed to be fairly nice, so I might just get started on that on the sooner side of things. Really all depends on the weather. Anyway, we're up front here today because I figured we'd start by looking at those peppers that I put out way earlier than I normally would because I found those galoshes at the dollar store. So yeah, let's start with the lemon and the Caribbean red habs. So here we've got those galoshes. They're recently watered, but if we look in there, we can see that there's definitely been some sunburning type damage. Those leaves are getting kind of messed up. And the first day, I'll be honest, the first day they were out here, totally forgot to water them. So when I got back from work the next day, they were looking really wilty, kind of sad. I'm impressed that they survived from that. We have had a couple of nights below freezing since they've been out, and so far so good. Let's take a look at the lemon habanero here. See if we can look down the hole in the top there. It doesn't really work quite as well as I had hoped. I'll knock off some more condensation here. And yeah, this one seems to be doing better than the Caribbean red, which surprises me a little bit. But again, we can see at the bottom of the plant there are some very dead leaves and some others as we go up that are definitely dealing with some sun damage. But all things considered, I'm still quite impressed by this situation. Obviously there are a few things I need to learn about using these, but for $2.50, that's not bad. That buys me a couple extra weeks, and really around here a couple extra weeks can be the difference of a harvest or nothing. So that's pretty exciting. Still haven't gotten anything done with these strawberries and their runners yet, but like I said, the weather hasn't been as great as I was hoping. Anyway, I'm going to move them over to where they're going so you can see kind of what I've got set up to go on over there. Oh, this wind, and a little bit of a song from the chickens, but not too bad, these strawberries. Anyway, get back to you in a second. So essentially, that's where they're going to go in the chaos garden here. I'm just going to fill as much of the front of this. Actually, you know, honestly, I'm still I haven't decided if I'm going to fill as much of one row with this as possible, or if I'm going to start all three of the rows and just put strawberries at the head of each of them, or what. But the Chaos Garden I have pretty much left in its natural fashion for the time being, because I've been harvesting these dandelion leaves like crazy, and the chickens are just absolutely loving them. That's probably why they're squawking right now, because they've kind of gotten spoiled, and they'll basically get a handful of dandelion greens or the grass tops or whatever else I can rummage around. Like the bunker garden here, it's very rich in nitrogen to begin with because there's that sheep fertilizer in there, and it's decent soil, but I'll show you the soil in a second here. But this grass grows ridiculously quickly around the edges, and I refer to it as grazing grass because it just tears up so easily. Like, it's kind of meant for an animal to munch away at it, and the girls have been getting a lot of this as well. They seem to be really happy with that. I want to talk about feed on the farm channel though, because there's been a few things going on there. But anyway, the bunker garden still, you know, it's got some leftovers on it from last year. A little bit of chicken manure that, well, it spent the whole winter out here, so I'm hoping that will have helped it cool down a little bit. I am probably going to put some of the regular yard soil on top of this just to clean it up. And then I am still leaning towards putting 4 pepper plants in here. Whether or not it's going to be the super hots or some of the massive collection of habaneros, I'm still undecided, but a little worried because of all the nitrogen that I threw in here. But at the same time, I'm kind of thinking maybe some of the grasses will pull a lot of that out and it won't be that much of a problem for the peppers. What I'm really hoping for with them this year is that because this is a raised bed garden as compared to just regular ground bed gardens, it'll get that extra bit of heat and they'll do just that much better, which is probably why I keep coming back to the idea of putting super hots in this. But this silly bunker garden has been, you know what, it's been a lot of fun to experiment with, and really we just ripped up some sod and built a frame and filled it with whatever we could, and it's been growing stuff for us ever since. Let's take a look at the, this was the corn patch last year, where I started throwing in all kinds of interesting things as mulch. We've got some charcoal from the fire pit in here, and I let the corn roots and stalks rot out the winter in here, and I am going to pretty much just shear them at the top for now, because I do want the organic material in here, and I'll show you why. Let's look at some of these chunks of sod that I brought up the other day. I got a new shovel to make my life a lot easier with this, because we've been destroying that icebreaker that we've been using. But you know, looking at this, you don't see a lot of organic material, which is why this stuff turns into what I call Manitoba mud. But again, looking at it, based on a lot of the stuff that I've seen for field rehabilitation, these little clumps that are attaching to the roots indicate that there is pretty active biology in this soil. So I shouldn't be having quite as many struggles as I do out here. And I've been talking to some of the local gardeners, and everybody out here, I don't know if it's just a farm thing or if it's what you need to do with this soil at this point, but everybody out here tills. They give it once, maybe even twice, and then they put their stuff down, and they have these phenomenal gardens. I have been going kind of no-till, and I have these sad little pathetic gardens, which doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to have a sad big pathetic garden this year. I'm ripping out the grass in between the garden beds on this left side. I'm going to rip it out here as well, and we're going to have one large bed here as compared to the large chaos bed in the back, and then the little bed up front. It's going to be interesting, and I haven't really decided if it's going to be peppers or cabbages or what, because with, again, the long row opportunities, which is how the old garden before we moved in here seemed to function best according to Google Earth stalking behaviors, those opportunities give me, well, just different possibilities of growing and maybe having that really productive garden season that I've been hoping for. But, you know, really I haven't gotten much of anything done other than pulling off some mulch. Still kind of waiting to see what happens with this Swiss chard that was left out to winter because it went to seed on me. Just throw a few of those into here. But I'm probably going to do the carrots in here. I'm probably going to open this up maybe another foot or two so that we can get, you know, 4 or 5 rows of carrots in there. I ended up buying a whole bunch of extra seeds on top of the ones that I got from Bessie's this year. So yeah, now that I know I can store carrots, I'm really excited about the idea of growing more carrots and storing them kind of long term. Let's see if I've forgotten anything here. Oh, I've got the screen out. I threw this together last year for going through the landscaping compost, and I figure I'm going to try and reclaim the soil from the sod bits instead of building anything with them this time around, because as you can see in the trench there, it goes down quite a bit, right? As soon as I take the sod chunks off, I'm really dropping the overall level, and as things melt here in the spring, these already turn into little swimming pools. So the goal long term is to kind of get it up and above the regular soil level. So again, I might end up doing like little hugel mounds in here too, but that's more commitment than I necessarily want to get into with both gardens. Definitely going to do that with the Chaos Garden, but we'll see, because I could always do like rows of peas and beans and change it up every year, move things around a little bit, try and leave the roots in there for that organic material like I've been going off about. And oh, there's just so much to learn about this gardening thing. It's really not as easy as some people make it look. Anywho, let's escape from the wind, mosey on down to the dungeon, see what's going on down there, and that'd probably be about it. So, good time for a pee break, and get yourself a tea, and I'll see you in the basement. Alright, so everybody's settled in with their tea or coffee or whatever. Excellent. So we'll take a look at what's still surviving from last year, and I am still, you know, I've said it every week, but it's just remains true. I am just blown away by this Mouse Melon. And you know, I could probably start moving this puppy outside now, because I would love to get some pollinators at this thing. And I've seen bees flying around, so I'm super excited about that. This mint, I'm sure the chickens would love to have a go at this mint. The mint plant that I had in their chicken run doesn't seem to be coming back to life this year, which really doesn't surprise me with how cold it gets over the winter. And I was pretty sure that Manitoba cold would kill mint, but you know me, I had to test the theory to find out. Let's see, Manitoba Dungeons did finally kill the El Oro. It's just laziness that still leaves it there. However, the Sugar Rush Creme, right? The countdown is numbering in days now, and we still have life on the bottom of that thing. However, it desperately needs to be watered. The MOA Scotch Bonnet there, I've been on top of the watering, and it's still just been dying off. The Flaming Caddy could use a little bit of water, though. Yellow Scorpion from 2017. Yeah, there's a dead one. So I do have some Trinidad Yellow Scorpions planted up in the AeroGarden upstairs. Hopefully, I will still get to try one of those. Haven't got any seeds left now, but the AeroGarden's a pretty safe bet and has already sprouted some of those Pepper North seeds for me. So, let's see, looking back at the house plants in the little shiny corner, the Flaming Caddy has seen better days, but at the same time is starting to recover in its new location here. Dieffenbachia still got its little band-aid splint on it. That poor thing has suffered so much. But yeah, mostly things are doing alright down there. We got this one little pine tree that I transplanted. Seems to be surviving. Tragically, the other one that was up in the stairwell just wasn't getting enough light. Looking down here, we've got, what, the trough of spider plants that I'm still kind of leaning towards putting outside just to see what it does. Because why not, right? Like, we got spider plants all over the house. I can afford to lose a few. No big deal. Hawthorn cuttings. It's going to be time to take them outside soon and shake off their compost. Now I'm pretty sure I put these into some landscaping compost because it's going to be a long time before they produce anything anyway. And I was using it to try and just draw out the roots from these things, because y'all know how, quotes, successful I have been with cloning things so far. Really hoping that will work. A nice little hedgerow of those. Keeps the birds happy, and they're basically little tiny apples, right? So they got to be ripping full of pectin when I need to make jams and things. Very much hopeful. Yes. The raspberry cuttings, I do not think they made it, but I have been outside looking around at the various permaculture bits, and the raspberries planted outside are doing great this year. That is exciting. We'll look at that probably on the farm channel in the next permaculture update, which really should be coming soon, but just hasn't been coming yet. Oh yeah, this thing, I gotta get this outside. I'm not sure it can handle the wind and the cold at the same time. I don't have a caloche big enough for this thing, but a few more degrees warmer and yeah, you're going outside. Maybe by next Sunday it'll be out there. That'd be nice. Alright, let's see what else we got going on down here. The survivors of the Tiny Cups and the Aphid Wars. Valiant, valiant things. Looks like we have a less than survivor here, though. What did we lose this week? The Yellow Dorset Naga. Oh, that's tragic. I think that's the last one of those that I had. Got some Bahucholokia Scorpions. We got some... Bahucholokia Chocolate Habanero. I don't think there's supposed to be a J on that. I think that's a bootless scorpion. I have to check my notes. We do have a few of them that made it though, and I think what we got here, Naga Viper. It survived so long in the Aphid Wars. Good job, little buddy. Got a Santa Fe Grande that made it. What's this one in the back here? Another Naga Viper. So that's impressive considering what these plants have been through. The fact that any of them at all are surviving, you know, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. This Sansi 40-watt light, I think, has been very helpful considering how cold it gets down here, and of course the aphid issue. But yeah, could have been a lot more potentials out of what was planted down here. Oh well, that's life in a garden. Moving on. So here we are at the rodent buffet, also known as the Darwin table, where I've noticed that plants that they can't reach do just fine, but anything, at about their level gets eaten down to the ground. For some reason they haven't touched that mystery one there, or the spider plants. But I bet you if we check this, got another one. Peanut butter. Gets them every time. The oregano, doing alright, doing alright. Might put that puppy outside. Never really seen aphids on an oregano plant, so if I bring it back in, I'm not too worried about it, you know. And it would be nice to get as much plant life out of the basement as possible so I can do kind of a clean sweep, get rid of as much of the soil, and just try and work out the aphid situation, because I do still have some things growing down here, and it appears that I can successfully grow some things throughout the winter down here, and that is kind of my goal, is to be able to maintain as much of our produce as is, well, humanly possible. This plant looks really rough, and I've been trying to stay on top of its water. It's in a little yogurt container into the bottom of the peanut butter jug. Its roots are in liquid, but it doesn't ever seem to be getting out of this stage of I look wilty. Still producing peppers. Like, I really expected a lot of these to fall off, and they haven't yet, and it's still very much a victim of the aphid wars. But it grows on. Don't know why, but it does. We lost this one back here in the hydroponic bubbler situation. Guess there's not much point in having that air stone going anymore. Again, just, I don't know if it was a failure in the way I set up this little hydro container, or I should have used the net cup instead of the little shot glass party cup, or a victim of the aphid wars, or I shouldn't have used that particular Miracle Grow garden stuff, wrong mixture. I don't know. It could have been so many things that went wrong with that, but while it lived, it was a really interesting sort of experiment, and I'm still glad that I mucked about with it, really, to be perfectly honest. One quick question: anybody know what color Nahi Guyana is going to turn? Because it takes forever to get color down here, so I'd like to have kind of a preview of what I can hopefully expect. Let's see, we'll pan over to the aquaponic garden under that Mars Hydro, where of course the mint is doing phenomenally well. Mint just loves this garden. These tomatoes are now, sadly, the nicest tomatoes that I have, because even though I started all of these, I never got around to transplanting any of them, and they're struggling. Lost quite a few of the ones that did pop up, as you can see, and never did get any leaks or anything to come up. I do have one lonely little sunflower that started early, and from my replanting of the cabbages, I got quite a few of those purple ones. So that's kind of too why I'm thinking about maybe making a nice long row of cabbages and kales in the side of that garden that I want to dig the sod out from. Because I'm actually going to have a few, and we like cabbage around here. There's a lot of really delicious things that you can do with it. So this is going to be an interesting and busy week for me, I think, with tomato transplants needing done, and I got to get on top of ordering those chickens before they're done for the season, and I got a lot of things I got to do. So it's going to be an interesting week. Yeah. Love that mint. Come to think of it, I got a new pellet gun review I've got to do for the outdoor channel too. The squirrels over this last winter have turned my shop into, well, a sty really. It kind of looks like a frat house at the end of a suspiciously long weekend. And it's time to make official ends to that situation. They can live in the trees all they want, but I'm going to start picking them off when they're coming near the outbuildings, because you know what, squirrels? You trashed the place. I tried to be nice, but they trashed the place. So what do you do? Anywho, hopefully by next Sunday we'll be able to put some of these plants outside. Next Thursday, of course, we'll be taking a look at the AeroGarden Week 12. So that'll be a whopping 3 months since that thing got going. And I've got some interesting news there about the fertilizers that I'm using, or the nutrients that I'm using now. So yeah, stick around. Make sure you're subbed up to all the assorted channels if you're interested in, well, all of the random non-gardening junk that I get up to. And I will see you somewhere. Probably here on Thursday, that's for sure. Yeah. Take care, everybody.